Another meatpacking plant sees COVID-19 cases. Let's talk about this triple threat to workers, the food supply, and the economy of rural Colorado. I'll talk with Cargill's head of plants across America. If Colorado's coronavirus cases are stabilizing, why are we still building enormous field hospitals? Steve Steger will get us some answers. Denver's airport is getting a ton of stimulus money right after it burned a mountain of cash in the failures of the Great Hall renovation. It turns out this is an excellent example of social distancing and how you make a hospital feel loved. Step 1, gather a whole town. Step 2, throw a parade. Step 3, show it on Next. Keeping Colorado's food processing plants running during the COVID-19 pandemic is crucial. Because, first off, you don't want anybody getting sick, whether that person is a nurse or a teacher or a meatpacking plant employee. But if the virus is able to gain a foothold in the close quarters of those food plants, well, then workers get sick, our food supply can be compromised, and it can further cripple the economy in some vulnerable parts of Colorado right now. The Union for Workers at the JBS meatpacking plant in Greeley tells us now that a third worker there has died of COVID-19. The plant's closed for at least 2 weeks for cleaning and essentially to quarantine those employees at home during that time. All 6,000 of them are still getting paid. And I've learned that today, public health officials visited Morgan County's largest employer. That is the Cargill meatpacking plant in Fort Morgan. It's home to more than 2,000 workers, and now the virus. A Teamsters union official says that there have been 7 COVID-19 cases at the plant, that 1 worker is presumed to have died from coronavirus, and that 150 of the 2,100 workers in Fort Morgan are quarantined. Cargill won't talk numbers, though the man who oversees Cargill's meat plants across America, John Nash, told me from Wichita, Kansas today that they are absolutely willing to learn from the slow response that led to the closure of the JBS plant in Weld County.
We're certainly willing to learn from anything that's happened elsewhere to make sure that we're doing the most we possibly can for our people. And if we cannot run that facility safely and with the food safety controls that we need in place, we will not run it.
Cargill says it's taking its workers' temperatures before they come into the Fort Morgan plant, installing barriers between workstations, and will have a mask for every employee by the end of the week. The company is also paying incentives to get workers to keep showing up. I asked Nash if that's pressuring workers to come in sick.
One of the clear things that we stated was that if you are sick, we do not expect you to come into work. That is never going to be a good thing, obviously, and that it will not impact your bonus eligibility.
I've reached out to Northeast Colorado Health Department to get their impressions after they did that site visit at Cargill today, and I'm still waiting to hear back. You can see my full unedited interview with Cargill's John Nash on the Next YouTube channel. There we talk about how the closure and the impact of the virus at meat processing plants could impact America's food supply. Nash said that the food supply is incredibly stable and secure, but he did acknowledge that there may be challenges at times. Tough day for the government conspiracy theorists who must have been all lathered up to see 2 Black Hawk helicopters flying through and then landing in downtown Denver today. We warned you this was the expected National Guard survey team coming in to check out the convention center, where the state and feds are planning a 2,000-bed field hospital. Let's bring in Steve Steger now. And Steve, if the cases of COVID-19 in Colorado truly are leveling off, as we're being told, can't imagine they still need a 2,000-bed field hospital.
Perhaps that's why, Kyle, we started hearing about a scale back this morning. And by afternoon, we learned that the state is planning to build less than half of the possible beds that could be built in the field hospitals in Loveland and in Denver. Now, Democratic Governor Jared Polis toured the ranch in Loveland today with representatives from the Army Corps of Engineers. That facility has a capacity of 1,600 beds, a possible capacity, but the governor said today that the state wants less than half of that, between 400 and 600, he said. At the Colorado Convention Center, where the capacity is 2,000, Polis has said the state wants a quarter of that, between 500 and 600 beds. This morning, the state's incident commander said on a call with reporters that the state could scale back construction based on data, but they want some capacity in case there is an unexpected surge in cases. This afternoon, the governor said he hopes none of these beds are used, but it's important to have them there when the state starts to slowly reopen.
In the Denver metro, North metro area, having 1,000, 1,500 beds will give us a lot more confidence in knowing that if we go to work and if we're trying to go back to normalcy and the virus grows faster than we think, that it won't outgrow our actual capacity here.
So the thought here is that once you start to reopen the state again, you're going to get a lot of people inside hospitals who are non-COVID patients. So you can move non-critical COVID patients into these field hospitals. They expect they'll be pretty busy, at least the hospitals will, when the state starts to reopen again, Kyle.
And of course, Steve, when we talk about these projections of how many beds they need, it wasn't just a dart throw on how many beds they would need, but also how our collective actions through social distancing might bend the curve of the virus and reduce the number of beds. In addition to beds, we heard a lot about ventilators. Where are we on those?
So we asked the governor about that today. He said since the beginning of all this, the state's acquired between 500 and 600 ventilators, and he says that state health leaders believe they are where they need to be for now with the ventilator supply. So that was a positive development as well.
Yes, indeed. All right, Steve Stager, thank you so much. So each day we show you the latest numbers that are updated every 24 hours, and as of now, they show that 329 of our neighbors in Colorado have died of COVID-19. More than 39,000 people have been tested, still not seeing the jump in testing that we need. More than 3,500 people were hospitalized at some point, and we expect hospital release numbers statewide by week's end. Boy, the airport has a bit of a Langoliers feel lately. All this open pavement and not a whole lot of people or planes. The airport saw just more than 19,000 passengers in all of last week. That is a 95% drop off from this time a year ago. Clearly, DIA is hurting. And today, an announcement that it's going to get a ton of cash, $250 million from the federal stimulus. So this is a little awkward, but our pesky Marshall Zellinger wondered if this bailout is just going to be used to reimburse DIA for its financial blunder on the Great Hall renovation.
DIA is no ma and pa, but it's still a business, and it's hurting. Funding for projects like the Great Hall construction come from you. The fees you pay to park, the money you spend at concessions and retail shops, money that's not coming in right now. From April 5th to the 11th, DIA saw 19,000 passengers go through TSA security. Compare that to the same week 1 year ago when that many passengers went through in 8 hours. Today, the Department of Transportation gave DIA and 48 other Colorado airports needed good news: federal stimulus money. $269 million for DIA, $24 million for Colorado Springs Airport, $3.5 million for Aspen Pitkin, and $157,000 each for Centennial and Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airports. So why should you care?
Everything that anybody orders that shows up on their front porch, it comes on a train or a ship or a rail car or an airplane, and pretty soon on a drone. The economy of this nation is based upon transportation.
Kirk Schaefer is the FAA Associate Administrator for Airports. He'll help keep an eye on the dollars that should be used to keep airport employees employed and for airports to pay bills, which can include the ongoing construction of the Great Hall at DIA, the same project that ended in divorce, with DIA paying millions to the previous contractor to go away.
Paying the bills for a development project is a lawful use of airport revenue.
DIA CEO and financial officer would not agree to an interview. In an emailed answer, a DIA spokeswoman said the Great Hall project is being financed through existing bond proceeds and not the stimulus funds. DIA also said it would spend the stimulus to cover, quote, debt service requirements and keep the airport financially sound. DIA will spend the stimulus money on debt. Now, Kyle, the airport has not let any employees go, so it doesn't need that money for payroll. And the piggy bank of the airport, the reserves, the airport has enough money for 500 days of operations. If no dollars came in, they could operate for 500 days.
That is a significant savings account. All right. Thank you, Marshall. We hear from folks on social media almost daily who are convinced that those of us who work in the media and government workers are somehow immune to cutbacks during this time. Well, I can tell you that we're not, and I can tell you that government workers are not. The city of Boulder announced today that more than 700 of its employees are going to go on furlough for 2 weeks' time, from April 20th through June 29th. The city estimates that it has already lost $28 million in revenue since the stay-home order went in place. Our Chris Vanderveen will investigate and explain all sorts of topics around here on Next. His twin brother is in the business of saving lives each day. He's an ER doc here in town. Chris thought this might be a good time to check in with his much smarter brother.
Yep, that's me in the inexplicable white rugby shirt, white turtleneck combo. The guy right next to me, my twin, Kevin. That's us with our older brother, Ted. I went on to be a journalist. Yeah, I know. And Kevin went on to be a doctor. That's him with his wife, Kim.
Hey, Kevin.
What's up?
What's going on?
Kevin's specialty is emergency medicine.
It's Chris Hansen. I don't know if you remember him.
I know Chris. Hey, Chris.
In the fight against the virus, he and countless others are on the front lines.
You have treated patients who have COVID, correct?
That is correct. I've treated patients with confirmed COVID. With the flu, by a week or so, most people are starting to feel better. But with coronavirus, that can oftentimes be the time at which the symptoms start to worsen.
That presents a problem, he says. So I asked him, when?
When should I consider going to an ER?
One of the key symptoms to watch for is shortness of breath. One potentially useful metric would be, am I having trouble speaking in regular sentences, or am I having trouble performing my basic daily activities due to shortness of breath?
He says he had a conversation with his wife and their 3 kids. Should he self-quarantine from them? So far, he and Kim have decided against it.
For the record, your wife is also a doctor.
Yes, she's a surgeon.
So she may know what she's talking about.
Understated as always, Kevin said he did use this as a teachable moment for his kids in his own way.
Colin and Sarah each had an assignment from me in the days before Denver Public Schools returned, and I asked them each to write a summary of the flu pandemic of 1918, 1919.
Of course you did. How would you grade their efforts?
I think that they nailed the key points.
Did I mention he was high school valedictorian? Yeah. So anyway, he says thankfully things are starting to feel a bit better. And he says he feels safe now more than ever.
Well, thanks, man.
Which is a good thing because, yeah, he's my brother.
Say hi to Kim, say hi to the kids, and take care.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks.
For Next, this is Kevin Vanderveen's twin.
You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's social distance like they do, not like people who watch other channels.
They put the sign up, "We love you, Greeley," and that's what it's about. We're caring for our family.
Northern Colorado shows the love to healthcare workers who tell us about life inside hospital walls these days. That's next. Time for another edition of That's Not How You Social Distance. People parked bumper to bumper along Buffalo Park Road in Evergreen. Judy lives up there, took the video Saturday afternoon. She said that people were just packed into Three Sisters Park. And she wished that more people would take the health experts' advice to get outdoors, but do it in your own neighborhood. However, you cannot always judge social distancing without context. Take these guys playing baseball in Fort Collins. This is social distancing done the right way because, believe it or not, all those guys are a household. They live together in a halfway house. So they're a household. They all live together, and they were actually out there playing baseball to celebrate the fact that they just all got out of a 14-day quarantine together after somebody in the house was showing some symptoms. And don't tell me that you can't figure out a way to enjoy the outdoors without a good 6-foot distance if these two can do it. Monroe the dog lives up in Berthoud. They've taken to calling the young bull elk Dasher. Dasher presumably lives in the forest near Berthoud, and they are friends, just like you see in the children's books and in the Disney movies and so forth. If you see examples of social distancing done well or not so well, let's see them. Next@9news.com is the email, or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext.
Sunny today, but cool with a few fair weather cumulus clouds out there tonight. We have a quiet evening, a warmer day tomorrow, and then in comes the next storm. Our high today at 46 is well below the average of 61, but we started off with another record low this morning of 11. The next storm is upstream coming our way, and it'll be here in about 24 hours. We start off with sunshine tomorrow, clouds by late in the day, rain by about 5 o'clock Wednesday night, and then all snow overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Calm, quiet tonight, lows in the mid-20s with fair skies, sunshine in 50s tomorrow. Snow 3 to 6 inches, a cold day on Thursday with clearing weather and conditions improving heading into the weekend. Temperatures 58 on Saturday, low 60s for Sunday and Monday, and with another storm coming, the 9 News weather app, always a handy feature to have nearby.
They considered themselves a family. The scene outside the house suggests the family is growing.
People cheering, clapping, honking, and then the staff started coming out, and just heartwarming.
We are still allowed to feel good about life, so let's do it. Next. Ask the staff at the North Colorado Medical Center in Greeley how things are going there right now, and they will tell you life is happening here. Some of the best and some of the worst moments in life continue amidst the crisis, and the community is very clearly showing its love for the people where life is happening.
People cheering, clapping, honking, and then the staff started coming out, and just heartwarming. Well, I'm Rhonda, and this is Julia. We work at North Colorado Medical Center. With the COVID pandemic, it has been a learning curve after a learning curve. But what it has brought is togetherness, not only within our peers, our colleagues, but within the community. And it really was evident at that parade when people started showing up. And how that started was a Facebook group. They said, let's celebrate the healthcare workers. So they started lining up in the parking lot. I bet there was at least 30 cars. So I had my camera there, and I just started taking the pictures, and it was heartwarming. Like the pictures of the people saying thank you for our healthcare workers and thank you for risking it all for being here. Like one of my favorite pictures was the van with the kids lined up. There were 7 kids, and they each wrote, "Thank you for taking care of our super dad." That was so powerful. Seeing the community members was important, but being able to see our staff give the support back with that "We Love Greeley" sign was awesome. Yeah. It's a little message like that as you're walking into work, you know you're going to make a difference by just showing up. I think it connects the hospital staff with the community a little bit closer as well. Yeah. They've embraced all of us to support us through this, and it's been awesome. It's just been incredible.
Work that matters right there. Some of you have noticed that the adults have been a little rude in the feedback segment lately. You know who's never rude? The children. Little angels, every one of them. And they're next. Parents, I get it. You're stressed, and we want to help. You can allow Next to soothe and supervise your children. Caution, do not actually leave children unsupervised with this TV show. Don't do that. But the soothing thing really does work. Nate told us his son Carter is lulled to peaceful sleep by the monotonous droning sound of my voice. I'm happy to help. And that odd phenomenon of Next's army of dancing babies continues. For years now, we have collected your videos of kids getting their wiggles out to the sound of our theme music. We have our first new submission since the quarantine.
Yay! What's on, buddy? Yay!
I feel like Next has like a really solid fan base of people between the ages of 3 months and 3 years, and then that's when the drop-off hits. It's everybody over the age of 3 who doesn't care at all for what we do here. Like Philip, who writes in tonight to say, "Hey Kyle, FYI, government employees on furlough do not lose 1 red cent of pay. Don't report it like they're suffering financially because they're basically getting paid vacation." Philip, dude, that's a straight-up lie. Please do not run around town saying that. That is an absolute lie. Those 700-plus employees in Boulder that are getting furloughed, they're going to continue to get their health insurance paid, but they are not getting their paychecks. Why in the world would you say something like that? William says, "You won't rearrange the wood by your fireplace, but someone's sneaking around and doing it for you. You should leave the camera on to find out." This could be the subject of a next investigation. I'm going to get Marshall on it. I'll see you next time.